Hi, everybody. Antonio Thornton here with another daily reminder for you. And today's daily reminder is sometimes you just have to quit your show. I was watching earlier today, I was watching, who was it? David Letterman's show on Netflix called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. And I love the name of that show, by the way, because that's how he would introduce people on his old show, the David Letterman show. But I was watching the episode of him interviewing Dave Chappelle. And if you're interested in really being able to, get a different perspective on celebrities' lives, that's a great show to watch. It's not the typical interview where the questions are kind of canned and the person asks and then the other person answers blah 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 and then they're promoting some movie or whatever. It's like a real conversation between two people just just really connecting with each other, and you get to see a side of people that you don't normally see. And admittedly, I'll have to say I have a very different respect for Kim Kardashian, of all people. I'm not really big in social media, and I definitely don't watch excuse me, reality shows, but you hear the things that you hear and you see the little things that you see pop up, et cetera, et cetera. And you have this image that you create of people from what you see, because what else do you have to go by, right? But I will tell you, it was a really great interview. It was a really great interview, and to see a very different side of her that wasn't pre-made, pre-packaged for a showing. It was literally, like I said, two people having a conversation. But anyway, Dave and Dave were talking about Dave Chappelle's exodus from his Dave Chappelle show, and he talked about it. And it was interesting. David Letterman asked him like three times, "What happened to make you quit the show? Like, what exactly occurred to help make you quit the show?" And Chappelle, I don't think he was necessarily avoiding the question, but he wasn't really directly answering it either. And so Letterman asked him, he says, "Well, listen, if you don't want to talk about it, I'll move on to something else. But what was the actual scene that made you quit?" And Dave went on to tell him about this skit that he put together. I don't think it was ever aired, but it was a skit that he did. He had blackface, and he said the way one person in the crew was laughing, just kind of, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. And he said that, amongst other things, was what had him quit the show. And the reason why I've named this episode of Daily Reminders Quit Your Show is because Chappelle talked about how his personal integrity was more important than the $50 million that Comedy Central was paying him. And he knew what he wanted for himself, and that wasn't it. And he walked away from it. And the thing that I found to be really fascinating was that he talked about how freaking terrified he was about it. And not just for his career, but even for his life. But it was the right thing for him to do, in retrospect, of course, because he said things were really rough for him for years. And all that to say to you in this moment, maybe there's a show of sorts that you may need to quit. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a partnership. Maybe it's a relationship that you need to walk away from. Sometimes you have to quit your show to save your integrity, to be true to who you are. And even if you can't see on the other side of it, we know that all will be well. And in that, even if it's not, it will be. It will be. You know, Chappelle talked about a lot of what he did after that. He did a lot of smaller shows around the country, very small venues. And the one thing that he said about it, he says, I had to go back to being a comedian. Think about how powerful that was. We all knew he was a comedian, but he said I had to go back to being a comedian, comedian. Just the raw talent of making people laugh from stage. And he said it actually made him a better comedian to have to start to literally have to start from nothing, rebuild from a clean slate. And sometimes that's exactly what we need, is to start clean or start anew from a clean slate so we can come back bigger, better, stronger. So sometimes you got to quit your show and be okay with quitting your show. So that's it for today's Daily Reminder, guys. But before you quit, make sure to like and comment below. Make sure to share and always turn on that reminder if you want to know when I go live. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. We will see you again tomorrow for another Daily Reminder. Talk to you soon.